The Smithsonian Faculty Fellowship Program represents a rewarding academic professional development opportunity for faculty at Montgomery College. The fellowships are a product of a unique collaboration between Montgomery College and the Smithsonian Center for Learning and Digital Access. It's the first of its kind between the Smithsonian Institution and a community college.
Bret Pelham is a social psychologist who studies social cognition, including the self-concept, gender, culture, climate change, the medicalization of birth, parenting, death, close relationships, evolutionary psychology, social justice, and stereotyping. He is the author of 3 psychology textbooks, and he currently teaches courses in introductory psychology, lifespan human development, social psychology, and statistics. In addition to having work-applied jobs at Broad Green Pictures, the National Science Foundation, and the Gallup Organization, Bret has taught psychology all over the country, at UCLA, UT Austin, SUNY, Buffalo, Swarthmore College, St. Mary's College of Maryland, and MC Germantown.
I would like to say thank you to those of you who've got me here in a non-traditional way. The mere fact that I'm wearing a jacket.
I'm seeing you like in big white clothes.
Thank you. Thank you to my classmates. And thank you to those of you who are here to look forward to the year you're going to have in this great program. All right, I'm going to talk about exploring democracy in a biased world, I hope. And I'm going to begin by telling you that research in my field of social psychology really points us to 2 very different conclusions. The first conclusion, which I hope is pretty intuitive, is that people don't like injustice. And if I can share with you a little bit about that, this is Franz de Waal, the primatologist, in rehearsal. And what you're going to see here is a little monkey economy. These capuchin monkeys have learned to give a rock to the experimenter, and if you give the experimenter a rock, you get a piece of food. You get a cucumber.
The other one needs to give a rock to us.
But notice she's going to get a grape. Much better than a piece of cucumber.
See, the other one sees that. She gives a rock to us. Yes, again, cucumber.
Watch carefully. How dare you? Let me out of here. I will rip your head off. All right, let's see her suffer one more time.
She tests her rock now against the wall. She needs to give it to us. And she gets cucumber again.
Let me out of here. Right, no, that's about it. No, she never gets the grape. This is social injustice. That's the way it works. She will never get the grape. If we can move forward here, the second point is that we're really good at rationalizing injustice and making peace with things that are not fair. Those are 2 seemingly opposed ideas. And if you can just show me the next window, I think those images speak for themselves, right? So from my perspective, that is absolutely insane. From their perspective, it makes, I'm sure, perfect sense. Okay? My MC students explored both of those opposing ideas in their projects, and what I'm going to do today is just share with you some of the work that they've done. And I'll begin with my favorite piece. Let's begin with my favorite piece, Denise. Okay, what I'm going to show you here is bit by bit one of my favorite pieces at the National Portrait Gallery. This is an example of democracy at work. Yeah, it works sometimes. They got it right. They solved that problem. People get their rights. And if you could just keep clicking through it, you'll see on the left there, that's the description the museum provides people with. And I made students include that in their project so I could see what the museum said to make sure they weren't just parroting back what they heard. For your benefit, I've taken those out, so you'll just see what the students wrote themselves. You can also see they indicated the subject, the artist, the date it was created, and if you'll click a couple more times for me here, I just love this piece here. It's so beautiful. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, this is the one I wrote. No wonder it's beautifully written. Yeah, so Denise, if you'll click one more time. when the music fades out and I give my little commentary, which is my favorite piece of this painting is the fact that the artist intentionally took away, I think, one piece of jewelry and a couple of buttons from her blouse to make the point that things were taken from her without her permission that did not belong to her. I just thought that was awesome. Now the rest of my talk is basically what my students had to say. Anything the student put is in the photograph that they took. They had to take it themselves. Each student took 6. Half of them had to indicate democracy working. Half of them had to indicate a failure of democracy. And anything you see in purple is my occasional annotation that I just couldn't resist, okay? So what's in black and what you see is what the students did. You should be able to click them ahead one at a time now. Short. But for a power picture, he was short. Yeah. Pause with me for a second. I just want to make sure. And when I learned about John Brown, in 5th grade, my white teacher despised him. And when I learned about him in 6th grade, my black teacher loved him. So, of course, I just assumed that he was black. And, of course, you can see here that he wasn't. All right, if we keep moving. In the roughly 100 images I had to work with, because my students didn't always shockingly didn't always follow instructions. Some of them gave me a picture of 8 people instead of 1 person. In the 100 or so single person photos I had, I noticed 2 patterns in what they showed me that are pretty consistent with the literature in social cognition. The first pattern is that they could have chosen anybody they wanted. They had hundreds of hundreds of portraits to pick from. They showed a pro-male bias. About 70 of the 100 portraits they chose depicted men, not women. Now, I'm sure in that population of portraits, there are more men than women. But remember, part of their goal was to look for examples of democracy working, as in addition to democracy not working. The second thing, and I'm still digging into this a little bit here, is that it looks like the faces of white people, especially white males, were more prominently displayed in the portraits than the faces of women and of people of color. That was actually one of my main goals going into the project, was to see, even in portraits they selected as examples of democracy working, whether this subtle bias would show up. And to give you a quick example of what it looks like, you can see in John Brown's portrait, that's a big face. That's a big guy, powerful guy. They hung him, but he was working hard for what he believed in. In the case of the second person, the actors at Ira, so you've already forgotten this. He's obviously not very important. Obviously, you could only see a little bit of his face. And then this person here, Celia, is tiny, right? Her body's what's important. So what I'll be looking at in the future as my students continue to work on this project is evidence of these subtle biases, even when you're looking at something as an indicator of the fact that we're making progress. Is there still this additional, more subtle indicator that we have a lot of room for progress? We have a long way to go. And I thank you very much. That's it.